Hello and welcome to Upfront with me, Raymond Aqua. Today, we commence our build-up to the premiere of the JoyNews special assignment on crimes that shook the nation, which is dubbed Who Killed the Judges. Today, we'll take you back to 1982 and give you a better appreciation of the conditions that predicated the heinous crime from the perspective of the most active civil society group then. The name was, it has changed now, the Association of Recognized Professional Bodies. My guest was the man in charge of that particular group. After this break, we'll let you in on that and commence our conversation. You're welcome back. Now, next month, JoyNews will premiere the all-important historical and perhaps putting the history of this republic into the proper perspective documentary, and this is tagged Crimes That Shook the Nation. The very first part is dealing with what happened in 1982 surrounding the death of some judges. This controversial issue will be put in the proper perspective to serve and give our lessons to people who did not know or probably have not been there before. Of course, this happened some 36 years ago. Now today, we are preluding that with a conversation that should fascinate you. Do you know that some time ago, the group which was the most active civil society group in the country was the Association of Recognized Professional Bodies? My guest today was the president at that time of the Association of Recognized Professional Bodies. This group was the first to have issued a statement protesting the killing of judges, and also, later on, the one that was perhaps at the receiving end of some of the atrocities that happened in this republic. Things we can learn from the Venerable Sam Okujato. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
And the Venerable Sam Okujato is currently on the Council of State of the Republic of Ghana. He was, in some time ago, the president of the Ghana Bar Association too. Pretty much an experienced lawyer of higher repute. You're welcome again, sir.
Thank you.
I hope you are doing well.
By His grace.
Yeah, you glow all the time. What's the secret?
Grace.
Oh, well, that's interesting to know. But let me crave you on there just to take you back to 1982. Let me seek to appreciate exactly what was this group for and why was it set up? The Association of Recognized Professional Bodies.
Well, the group was not set up in 82. I think let's take our minds back. In the Constitution of 1969, that is of the Second Republic, a provision was there for professional bodies to organize themselves. And in 1973, in February of 1973, we pressurized the then military government of General Kutuwa Champong to publish a decree, which is called Recognized Professional Bodies Decree. And that decree permits professional bodies to organize themselves. Okay. Before then, we actually had been meeting informally, if you like to put it that way. That means we were not incorporated, but we were an informal connection between, I think, 12 professional bodies. And this was based upon some examples that we got from the Commonwealth Secretariat, which was encouraging us, the professional groups, to come together, because it was felt that the grouping together of professions and working together enhances democracy, because then you can speak on issues not as single groups, but as a collective group. So we formed the Association of Recognized Professional Bodies. Achampo himself became a victim of that same group.
Really?
Yes, because when he started his UNIGOV, the Association of Recognized Professional Bodies opposed it. And because we opposed it, we actually, at a certain point, withdrew our services, because we said we are not laborers to go on strike. So we as professionals, we withdrew our services. And the doctors were not functioning in the hospitals, the nurses were not functioning, the lawyers refused to appear in court. Then Achampong eventually called a meeting in the castle. In fact, at the beginning he sent emissaries to come and talk to us so as to find some sort of compromise. And part of the emissaries that was sent there was Dr. Kurante Ado,
I see.
who was then the Attorney General. He was sent to come and talk to us. He came, and we said we did not trust Achampong on that matter. Then he sent Dr. Gardner. Dr. Gardner also came. I think he apparently, of course, was in Ethiopia and saw the political problem that arose there, and many, many people lost their lives. So he was scared that a thing like that might happen in Ghana also. So he also came and tried to persuade us. We again did not yield. Eventually they invited us to a meeting in the castle. So we went to that meeting in the castle. And before we went to the meeting, just something came to me and said, assuming we go there, he was asking us Amania, instead of him calling, because he has called us. But assuming he says Amania, we must be prepared. So we put ourselves in groups and said, okay, Professor Rubahene will talk about the history, somebody will talk about the economy, and we might divided the groups. As if it was magic when we went, that was exactly what happened.
I see.
Gentlemen, we are here. I was not their leader, but I just winked, and then things started. And Rubahene spoke, talk about the history of the country and the problem that we were having, and then somebody else. Then Harisoya was his target, the target of Achampong. Then he started and said, yeah, you professionals, please record this and go and show it. They want to sabotage the country. We had information that they wanted to blow up Akosombo, and we even found some gelanites in some near electric pylons, which they wanted to blow up. And then when we appoint them to positions, they just abuse their position. Look at Harisoya. We made him chairman of the Bank for Housing, and he just misused his position. We moved him from there, put him on procurement. He was only helping himself. So poor Harry wanted to put up his hand. He says, no, you've had your say.
I see.
Then I went mad. And I just said, how dare you? How dare you speak to us if you are children? We are not children here. Many of us are here older than you. And some of us, if we had wanted to remain in the army, we would have been senior to you. So you can't call us and be talking to us like that. You, didn't you say you made a coup in order to get rid of corruption? Last week you were still talking about corruption, which means that you've been unable
to do it.
To do it. So why don't you just get up so that those who are more competent than you can come and do the work? So there was dead silence. Then he didn't know what to do. He said, okay, the meeting has come to an end. And normally we say closing prayers at our meeting. So some Kujeto will say the closing prayers. So I said, okay, let's pray. I said, we thank you, Lord, that you are in charge of this country at this moment. And you know the problems of the country and how they can be resolved. Help us so that in these matters, we will think about the national interest, not our selfish purposes. Amen. So they said amen. And then they trooped out. All the generals, Utuka, Akufo, then they trooped out. Then my colleagues looked at my face and they said, the man is going to arrest you. So I look at them and I say, he's a coward, he won't do it. So we left. Apparently, there was supposed to be a reception.
I see.
But we had already gone.
You boycotted the reception. I didn't know.
We didn't know. They didn't tell us. They didn't tell us. So we left. So we went. So that's actually was the episode of what happened. Eventually, Kurante Aro tried to persuade us to go back to work, and our people agreed. And I told them that I don't trust Achampong because I wanted him to sign with his green ink to say that he has agreed to relinquish his position so that we can have a proper election and not the Unigov. And my people, unfortunately, succumb. So I told them I was not going to the press conference. And then I warned them that when all this is over and things are calm, Achampa will pick us up one by one, because he knew that we cannot reassemble again and go on strike or withdraw our services. Truly, in April, that was exactly what happened.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you're picked up?
I was picked up. But then, you know, at the same time that we were making the agitation, there was also the politicians who were also organized, who were also doing something similar.
Okay, so I'll let you continue, but I want you to first let us in on which group of specific professional groupings, as in which professions became the Association of Recognized Professional Bodies.
Okay. Yeah, actually there were 12 groups, 12 professions. We have the Association of the Ghana Bar Association, the Ghana Medical Association, the Ghana Dental Association, the Ghana Veterinary Association, Institution of Engineers, Institute of Architects, surveyors, and then we have the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research.
I see.
They were also represented, and then the University Teachers Association.
This was like what's currently the TUC?
No, it cannot be the TUC has always been there.
Yes, so this was separate from the TUC.
Oh, yeah. We had nothing to do with TUC. Nothing whatsoever to do with TUC.
It sounds strange because membership of the various groupings are similarly members of the TUC.
They are not.
That UTAC, for example.
No. You are getting it wrong.
Yes, the university teachers.
Yes, I'm saying that the Trade Union Congress was pro-workers.
Yeah.
These are professions.
Okay.
So there's a clear distinction between that and that. So let's get that quite clear. None of the professions belong to TUC. We have never belonged to TUC.
Okay, well, that's interesting to note. Now, these groups that came together, was it clear to you from the beginning the purpose of your engagement or some form of activism you're supposed to pursue, or it just happened after the Champion meeting that you realized that you needed as of right to do something in that direction?
No, the confrontation with a Champion was just by the way.
Okay.
The whole idea originally was that as professions, we should be able to meet together, talk about issues that concern the professions, but also the issues that concern the nation, and how we can advise, you know, profess and advise. And indeed, I will tell you that later on, when Dr. Hilary Leman became president, one of our members, who was an engineer, became the vice president of Dr. Hilary Leman. That's DeCraft Johnson.
Yeah.
And when government wants to take decision on issue, they always refer it to the professional bodies for us to put and send us our opinion.
Oh, so the professional bodies were now in a very good relationship with the Liman government then?
You are getting it wrong. I'm saying that the confrontation with a Champion was because he brought Unigov.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, we were not opposing government.
Okay, yeah.
We were not opposing government. In fact, our concept was either to help government to govern properly.
And Unigov was bad in your case?
Unigov was not something that we thought it was a gimmick for Champion to entrench himself in power.
But Champion was replaced by FWK Akufo.
Correct.
Was that a good move?
Yes, of course.
Did you guys contribute to it?
Oh, sure, indeed. It is because we had exposed the wrongdoings of Champion. That was what compelled Akufo and his group to arrest Champion. Because it was after Akufo took over that we were released from prison. Yes.
Okay, now, there were accusations leveled against the head of state, then Champion.
Yes.
Accusations of corruption.
Correct.
Accusations of there was even a time that an expression that sort to say that the man was virtually exchanging state largesse for women in various forms.
Those were rumors, but
there was no truth to it.
Well, no, I cannot say that. We have not proved it.
Okay.
I'm a lawyer. I can't go making
allegations
allegations which I cannot substantiate.
I get your point, because I wanted to understand exactly whether or not, but this was widespread.
Yes, it was widespread, but he was unpopular. I mean, that's the truth of the matter. Yeah, he was unpopular.
For a president who built estates, who built university halls, for a president who is credited to have led the very wonderful backyard garden, or how do you call it, Operation Feed Yourself project.
Yes.
How could he have been unpopular?
Well, you see, this is the whole trouble about politics, that sometimes the politicians need to learn. They are infused with these things that they think please the public.
Okay.
And then they think that by virtue of that, it covers the wrongs that they do. Mm-hmm. It's a tragic, but it happens in politics all the time.
I see.
Where you say, okay, oh, but the man has done this, he's done that. But then the question, you've done this, but did you also not do this one and that one? Or do you neglect this one?
But he's human, right?
It is human.
Where his negatives more than the positives.
Yeah, because you see, there are certain situations that people do not understand. When he came into office,
yeah,
gold price shot up. Cocoa price shot up.
That's interesting.
The Operation Feed Yourself they were talking about was in fact part of the plan of J.H. Mensah, who was the Minister for Finance.
Yeah.
And all the pillars that Busia had laid, Busia did not enjoy the benefit of it.
Yeah,
Achampon took the benefit and got the credit. Now, when the situation became where he says, am I God?
Of course.
So we returned and said, but were you God when the things were working well in your favor?
Wow.
Now that is not working well, you ask whether am I
So
God?
commodity prices slammed.
Yeah, exactly. Things just went down.
Oh, okay.
Because that time I was telling people, I say, the plans on the Operation Feed Yourself that was going on, you wait. Sooner or later, it will end and he will have no idea how to solve it.
So the Operation Feed Yourself was not a success?
It was a big success at the time.
Okay.
In fact, we exported corn. Yes.
Corn?
We even exported rice to some of the African countries.
African countries?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh,
not
yes.
to the Western world.
No, not to that extent. Yeah, but I'm sure that it was very successful.
All right. Now, I'll come back to the switch from Champon to FWK Akufo, okay. But I need to get this part clarified. When were you arrested, and what was the exact reason?
That was in April of 1977.
This was still under Champon?
78, yeah.
This was still under
Champon, yeah, 78.
And his reason for arresting you were?
Well, you know, there was a movement for freedom and justice.
Yeah.
And that movement had Bedema, had Pa William Ofurata, A.K. the Coup, Rosadu Bohen, and all the others we were all part of it. So I was actually two roles. I was in the professional bodies, and I was also in that group. So all those groups agitated and campaigned against the Unigov. And we knew he lost the Unigov, but he nevertheless proclaimed that he had won. So what he did was to collect those he thought were opposing him and lock them up, perhaps ostensibly to think that he was going to inaugurate the Unigov and then release us. But his colleagues saw the danger of what was happening, so there was a palace coup when they themselves arrested him.
I see.
And we were released the day after his arrest.
How different was FWK Akufo from a Champon?
Oh, two different persons.
Really?
Two different persons.
But they were all military leaders?
They were all military, but Akufo was actually supervising the election for return to civilian rule.
Yeah?
Yeah. He was actually supervising the election when the Rawlings coup happened.
Okay, that's interesting. Was that necessary?
The coup? No, of course not. It was not necessary because the civilian election was on. The campaign was actually on. And therefore, no one can give justification why military should be overthrown, the military which was going to hand over power.
But how different was this from that of the FWK palace coup against a Champon? He also removed the head of state, really.
No, you don't understand. Akufo and the rest were he was his deputy. Now, if your boss is doing something which is not correct, what do? You keep quiet. They suspected that there was a danger.
Okay.
And that was the reason why they removed him. And that danger that they were afraid of was eventually the one that killed all of them.
Oh, okay. Which danger specifically was this?
The danger was the upheaval that had happened when professions and political groups and the rest rose against the government.
The establishment then?
The establishment. And therefore, to calm that, and then arrested the leaders and locked them up. So the proper thing to do is to remove a Champon, release those who were in detention, then they can go ahead and do the campaign for return to civilian rule. And that's what they were doing.
Now, let me get this part also clarified. So you got out of jail. Were you still into the Association of Recognized Professional Bodies?
Oh, yes, I've always been. Yeah, in fact, because I was a president then, not of the bar, but of the Association of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators. I was their president.
I see.
So all the presidents and secretaries of each professional association was automatically a member of the Professional Bodies Association.
And when you came back, did you mount the same opposition to the FWK government as you did to a Champon? Or because they had taken it out of jail, there was no need for it?
No, the question was that there was nothing for us to agitate against, because there was a plan and a program
to hand over to a civilian government.
That was the very thing we were asking for. So we were happy about it.
You describe as needless the June 4th movement.
Yes, June 4th.
But some say it was a defining moment of our history in this country.
Well, it's a defining moment because many people just did not understand. So far as they were concerned, soldiers were corrupt and their heads of state were killed. But if I ask each of them now, what specific charge they have against each of those individuals who were shot, I wonder how many of them can be able to boldly come forward and say,
you're making reference to the 80 generals.
Correct.
But these people had actually introduced into our system the rather acrimonious way of ruling, which is not constitutional, which is overthrowing governments on that. And they had history and they had engagements in that direction. Didn't they have to pay the high price for it?
You are forgetting something. Who overthrew Liman's government?
The J.J. Rawlings-led team.
Exactly. That was not acrimonious.
It was, I mean.
Yeah, so you...
But that was post facto. Up until that time.
It cannot be a post facto. The one was a military government that was going to hand over to civilian government.
Yeah.
The other was a civilian government elected by the people.
Yeah.
Which had barely done 2 years of a 4-year term. And then they were overthrown.
But the circumstances were different.
No. You cannot convince me on that one.
Really?
Yes.
Now, I wanted to be clear in my mind because, one, the decision to clear these generals was to make sure that they don't repeat the things that they did.
Which court did they tell them to and try them?
They were subjected to some form of court martial.
No.
Not at all?
They were not.
None at all?
No.
So they were just rounded up and
It was a secret something they did and just took them in the morning and
but
going to
that's the court martial.
It was not. That's not the court martial.
That is what has been explained in detail.
They should go back.
You didn't represent any of them, did you?
They should bring the army record where there was a court martial, which lawyers represented them, which judge sat down and tried them. Somebody should bring that record today.
You think none exists?
We shouldn't throw words by heart.
We think none exists?
I know it does not exist.
I see. That's interesting to note. So, from what you said, they were not treated well.
Let me ask you a question. General Frifa, he left office in 1969.
Yes.
How did he come to be involved in, to be shot?
He was in his hometown at Mampo in the Ashanti region. And the suspicion was that, once a general who has done a coup d'etat before, and because his act was treasonable, having to remove a constitutionally elected government was treasonable.
So should we choose Rawlings because he also committed treason
but
twice?
There's immunity in the constitution.
No, nothing. The treason had nothing to do with immunity. What I'm telling you is that Afrifa was not a soldier. He was not a serving soldier.
Yeah, he was
the man retired and he was on his own. He was picked from that place and brought and shot.
Yeah.
So I beg you, people should not play with words, because if you don't know history, go back and study it. History requires detailed examination of facts and even the law.
I see.
Don't throw words about.
No, but the account, and this is pretty clear to many, that and those who actually carried out some of the shooting insist that this was the best way to clean the system.
Why don't they just remove the immunity clause so that we can all go and try them also and find out whether they're going to be found not guilty or not?
But because at the point in time we had to move forward, didn't we?
No, if we try to forget it, let's not give an excuse to cover it.
I get your point. Now, let me come to this point too. So we moved on beyond Liman. The 81 coup did happen.
Yeah.
Under Liman's government, the excuse have been given that this was not a functioning government. This was government that just had its budget thrown out of power. To all intents and purposes, there were a lot of complaints about corruption, just like there were complaints about corruption under the military governments. There was a general yearning, as the Chairman Rawlings has stated categorically, there was a general yearning for the return of somebody who will bring true revolution to the people. Was that not the justification for the removal of Hilal Liman as president of this republic?
You know, that's what I'm saying. So it's very easy just to give an excuse for what we do.
Yeah.
All of us would like to give an excuse for what we do. If we are honest with ourselves, sometimes we will need to stop and have ourselves questioned to find out whether indeed, because there are many of us who were around at the time, and we're not children.
Yeah, I get you, yeah.
We're not children. Don't forget, I was in Parliament from 69 to 72.
That's true.
When I was we were overthrown. So we are not kids. We are grown-ups, even older than many of those who were involved in that coup. And therefore, they can't go and start hoodwinking us with stories.
It's not a legitimate query of the situation.
I am telling you that Hilal Liman, why didn't they not go and try Hilal Liman for any crime? Let me ask you, how many mansions did Liman build?
There isn't a record of mansions.
He doesn't even own anything.
Yes.
He was a poor, simple man. You are talking about corruption. Which regime has not had corruption? Which regime in this country did not have corruption? You might even, as far as the magnet, in fact, what is even there to steal in the first place? Because the economy was in a mess when he came into office. The economy was completely in a mess when he came into office. To build that takes time. I have in my hand here a report of the seminar to review the progress in implementing the government's 2-year agricultural cash program for food production. This was organized by the Association of Recognized Professional Bodies, 2nd December 1980.
I see.
That's why I was trying to tell you that we, as a professional group, was assisting government to govern.
I see.
And do things properly.
So the report in the sum said exactly what?
We were reviewing the agricultural program because we thought that this country ought to be self-sufficient in food production. That we have good arable land, reasonable rainfall. And where there is no rainfall, we have rivers and tributaries and the rest that can be tapped for irrigation. And therefore, there should be a concentration on agriculture for us to feed ourselves. And this was the program that the government had, and we, as professions, sat down to review it, to make recommendations. 1980. This thing has never seen the light of day.
Not being implemented ever?
Because the government was overthrown and nobody even bothered to try and find out what has happened.
What has been done by the professionals in any way. But I'll take a break now. When I return, we'll continue our conversation with a man that has seen it, lived it, and been through it all, the Venerable Samuel Okudzeto. You're welcome back to Upfront. Today, we're actually looking at what happened really in the transitionary periods between the Champon government through to the FWK Akufo government, and also when Dr. Hilal Liman came in and finally settling on the PNDC as a government with this revolutionary period. The man to do so with this is the man who was, and this is from the lens of the grouping that was perhaps the most visible, the most potent civil society grouping at the time. There's the Association of Recognized Professional Bodies. And he's been telling us about who this group is supposed to be and what they've done over the period and what the realities on the ground were and what could have been done differently. The Honorable Samuel Okudzeto is with us here. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you.
I left off with the conversation with you, and you were bringing me up to speed with, you were not only agitationist, you helped government with review of policies. That means professionals who were pretty much minded by state development in all of its forms. And you were trying to give me an indication as to what your review of agri programs, in fact, that the government has put together. And I just interestingly heard you say that these programs did not see the light of day.
Yeah, well, because the time that this thing should be implemented, the man who was supposed to do the implementation has been taken, locked up, thrown out. And the new one that came said they are revolutionaries.
Yeah.
And therefore they are not interested in listening to us because we are more or less the enemies of the people.
You were attacked enemies of the people?
We were actually virtually called like that.
But you have been in civil society, not with government for a very long time. So how could the people also in civil society be tagged enemies of the people?
Well, because it was a convenient term for people to use.
Was it also because you looked capitalist? You looked like the prim proper section of society, the people who had big ties, nice suits, and were not in touch with the ordinary person?
I can assure you that we were many of us come from the same villages as like anybody else. And we didn't pride ourselves that because we had education, we were any better than anyone. Because if you see what you are talking about now, I will tell you of recommendations that we were making for agriculture. You listen to this. It says, in order to meet the food needs of the country and to avoid any hardships to the people, it is recommended that the government draws up a program to order maize, rice, and fish for human and animal consumption. Then we said, one, a central...
To order?
Pardon?
Order?
Yes. In the meantime,
I see.
Because there was so much hunger.
Was there a shortage?
So much hunger.
I see.
Because I told you that at Champa, when everything went down, when the operation Feed Yourself became Operation Fool Yourself.
Oh, really?
Well, that's the way some of us try to call it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because sometimes you start something with enthusiasm and it's blooming, and then you are so complacent, you are so excited about it. And then you don't plan ahead. So this is what had happened. So we recommended that to avoid food shortages, they should have storage facilities in the various areas of the country to make sure that the people always have food.
I see.
You know, so these are not recommendations which is made by, let's say, the term used bourgeoisie for themselves.
Yeah.
No, these were programs meant for the ordinary citizen of this country, the poor people. You know, a special exercise must be mounted to improve the distribution markets, remaining from the farm storage through transportation to public markets. That means buy food from the farmer when he produces it, put it in storage, you make sure you pay him, there is food storage, then because a lot of the food, I can tell you even right now, a lot of food gets rotten in the mud.
That's a big issue in this country.
Exactly. Yeah. And these were part of the recommendations that we had made. So in fact, this is even something, I discovered it, maybe I should give it to the present government to try and see whether I cannot implement much of what is there.
Oh, but now we want to actually discourage the importation of goods. We want to concentrate on building our own industry.
This one is talking about both. We are talking about how you can help the peasant farmer.
Okay.
By buying his foodstuff, storing it, and then distributing it.
So we have buffer stock. We also have plenty for food and jobs, which is helping the local farmer and all of that to be able to do some of these things.
Yeah, but if you do, you must make sure that you buy from the farm gate.
I see. That's an interesting perspective. But let me take you a little bit back to... So Rollins came in.
Yes.
Rollins came in, it was a PNDC.
Yeah.
One of the defining moments of the PNDC was the killing of the judges.
That's correct.
You were livid, as in the Association of Recognized Professional Bodies. You were livid about this particular movement. In fact, as I'm going through, I've seen it's not only the Association of Recognized Professional Bodies that actually put out. The June 4th movement itself put out a statement. The New Democratic Movement also put out a statement. Indeed, all of these groupings said that the June 4th League also put out a statement. The crux of the statements of all of these groups were that this was done by people who were anti-revolutionaries, enemies of the revolution, to cast a blur on the wonderful work that the revolution has started so far.
That's a height of stupidity, that statement.
Really?
By those people. It's a height of stupidity. The people who did the killing were members of the PNDC.
But they said they were against the revolution.
How can he be against the revolution when the man is a member? But you don't pull wool over people's eyes. You know, the Ghanaians are so quick. When something happens and they are involved in it, they want to put a smear on somebody else, some imaginary person from somewhere.
They want to blame somebody else for it.
Exactly. Was not a member of the PNDC shot?
Yeah, actually.
Was there not a probe which was set up?
Yeah.
So who was the enemy of the revolution?
They perceived, I mean, could it be that at the time they issued a statement, this was, to be fair, on the 2nd of July, which was barely 3 or 4 days after the incident?
Because they will not wait. The trouble in Ghana,
the
problem in Ghana, and I'm pleading with Ghanaians, is that don't be too quick in getting to judgment when you don't know the facts. Shut up. Just shut up. Ghanaians are so quick. Something happened like that, they'll blame the A, they'll blame C. Instead of just waiting to have an investigation and find out what are the true facts. So were they not ashamed when eventually it turns out that indeed those who were killing were members of the PNDC?
That's the interesting part. But to be fair, the Association of Recognized Professional Bodies also issued a statement. What was your problem?
What was our problem?
Yes.
Our problem is that these are judges, people who have sworn an oath to administer justice. There was no excuse for anybody to go to their houses, collect them, go and shoot them, and then purport to burn their bodies so that there will be no trace. How can we just sit down and keep quiet?
You mounted pressure.
Of course. We thought that it was a stain on the nation. That Ghanaians value human life.
But did the pressure yield results?
Was what?
Did the pressure yield results?
Of course, that was why they were compelled to appoint a commission, Azuka commission.
SIB in this
exactly.
case.
If that was, at least was the result. That was the result.
I see.
And not only the judges, but later on, I think I gave you a list to show that it was not only the judges.
About 200 others that you showed me
also
before.
killed throughout the country. Yes, exactly.
Yes, you showed me this
Exactly.
particular list
Yes,
before.
that's right.
But the conclusion over the period has been that, oh, the young, errant, misguided military officers who were so much deep into the revolution, did not care so much about the tenets of the revolution, carried out this misguided action.
Which other action are you talking about now?
I'm talking about the killing of these judges.
No, the judges were not abducted by military people.
Yes, what they're saying is that this was, of course, I mean, not all of them, some of them were ex-soldiers. And that the people we are talking about in this case, people who were fined, who were actually put before the tribunal, who were executed at the end of the day, some of them were not executed too. The conclusion from government then was that these were misguided people, needlessly enthusiastic about revolution, and abused the enthusiasm to the point that they miscarried it.
But when you make a revolution, you don't control the people that are underneath you. You take responsibility for what they do.
Could they have done so? You were living at that time.
Oh yes, they could have.
Was the situations out of control?
Because it was madhouse. People are carrying guns, they are going to people's house in the night, robbing them and killing them. Have you ever heard the word Chubwe before?
Yes, I mean, it's still a rallying call today.
You know, in 1948,
yeah,
when the
riots,
when the policemen and so the soldiers, ex-soldiers were killed at this like that, the Ghanaians marched on all the European stores. That was the time the word Chubwe came in. Chubwe.
When they say the Chubwe, they march forward.
You march inside, you also march inside and take as much. Take as much.
These were raids, to be fair.
That was it.
Yeah.
So it was a Chubwe for these people who are carrying guns. They can see you, they see the market woman, they take him, beat her up, and collect all her goods. It was on an allegation that she's selling above for control price.
But some of these allegations were true.
My dear, who decides what control price for maize or rice or sugar or plantain should be?
The government of the day, I presume.
No, there was no price set by anybody on that. It's the market that determines what is sold. is governance to go and beat a poor woman who has bought something small to sell so that the family can also have food on their table.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting to know. Now, I mean, all of this tells me one thing. It was difficult doing activism then.
It was what?
Difficult doing the activism.
Yes, of course.
At that time.
Our lives were all at stake. In fact, some people thought that I was mad.
Really?
Oh yeah, they stopped me in the street. They say, "Don't you have wife and children?" So why are you opening your mouth? And I told them, I said, I don't know the way I'm going to die, but I cannot see something going wrong and shut up.
I see.
If I die, I die.
Luckily, you lived through it.
Well, that's grace.
I see.
Sometimes I stop and I ask myself, I say, how come you are still alive? And then I go on my knees and say, Lord, I thank you. But perhaps you have a purpose. Perhaps one of the purposes is what I'm here this evening.
I mean, educating the
because otherwise,
people of this republic.
Much of the history
would have been lost.
It's gone. And then people can go and lie and say all kind of silly things that they choose in order to cover up.
Okay, now, the interesting part is the activism of today is different from, for example, the Bar Association today is different from the Bar Association or any of these recognized bodies in 1982.
Well, yes, that is true. I think we have withdrawn into too much self. Yes.
Many accused the current ones of not being the kind of activists you guys were some time ago.
Well, I guess the circumstances may be different. I don't know, but
there are peculiar issues on their own today.
Yeah, but on the role, I kept reminding all of them to say that this question about self, everything is now is me. What does it need from me? How much money can I make? And unfortunately, the churches are joining. And so now you go on, all you hear is that God has blessed me. So I have this car, I have this house, I have this. And the young one who are teaching in the law school, what they're thinking about is that they want to own a big car, they want to own a house, they want to... It's complete. The psychic of the nation has changed.
I see.
But we need to bring it back for people to begin to appreciate that we are living in a society, and the needs of the society are much broader than that of us as an individual. In fact, one time I think I told some of my colleagues, I said, please stop using the word I don't want to hear it. It is we.
Okay.
Because if you say, I want this, I must have this, what about the other person?
But some have said that having to pursue this we thinking actually has led many people being poor. They have been destitute. In their older lives where they could not really be as active as they wish they were. They were not as comfortable.
No, it has nothing to do with the we issue. You see, when you begin to appreciate that we are in a society and the needs of society are very broad, perhaps while somebody might like to have a whole nice bowl of wachi in the morning for breakfast, if you give it to me, you're wasting your time because I won't eat it. Because to me, it's too heavy. But that is me. That doesn't mean I should condemn somebody who lives on that. Because we are all different. We are all different, yet the same. And so we begin to appreciate that in society there are poor, there are not so poor. People have different talents, different abilities, but all that is organized by God himself, you understand? So that we can all put all of them together. And then we build a nation.
I get your point. Now, on more current issues, when you sit back and reflect, for example, when we talk about how government is being run now, when people say there's hardship, do you feel the same thing?
Oh, of course there is hardship. There's always hardship.
Now, currently, people say because they talk about fuel price increase, they talk about exchange rate, the city is doing not so good and all of that. Yeah,
but you see, that also we must look at it in another context, because sometimes we forget that. Oil was about $40 and less some few years back, right?
Yeah.
Now it's past 80.
Yeah.
Now, people just don't look at it from that angle to appreciate that there are current issues that happen internationally that affect price rise. Because we only assume that, why is the oil price rising? But the question is that if you convert that dollar into cedi, then you can begin to see why the cedi itself is sliding down. But you also begin to appreciate that the sliding down is not only Ghana. You see it all over the world, that many currencies are being affected.
But the argument is that this is contrary to what they were promised. They were promised better lives.
As for promise, I can tell you, politicians always make promise. Sometimes I need to caution them, to tell them that be careful, the extent to the promise you are making, because you don't know the future. And this is what brings me back to this question I kept telling people, that we don't realize that power does not rely on us. The power belongs to God.
I see.
Power belongs to God. And He determines each situation, each condition where we are in. So, some of my colleagues had died from heart attack, or just from anger. I am still alive. That's only grace. Doesn't mean that I'm any better than them or superior to them.
Okay, now there's this question about, I mean, the complaint, for example, from groups, not only minority, but other groups, especially the trade unions, who are saying that the current government is failing in its responsibility to protect people in this country because it's not making the kind of decisions that ideally would bring down prices, would make them comfortable, and would improve their lives.
What suggestion did the Trade Union Congress make to the government?
They are saying that first, they should reduce taxes on fuel.
You can't just talk about reduced tax. What I'm saying is that the Trade Union Congress is a very unique position to sit with government, dialogue with government, and come to a consensus on issues. That's their role. They're not just there to agitate for salary for this. That's what they think they are doing. It's not correct. They are a power block. And a power block like that can effectively sit down with government, dialogue with government, and put ideas into operation. They don't do it.
But the issue statements that give suggestions.
No. I'm not talking about, that's what statement. Anybody can issue a statement. Anybody can issue a statement. I'm saying that as a power block, because you see them even in the job position, in the company. You can see, if it doesn't give us this bonus, we'll go on strike. I say you are silly. Is the company making profit? You want them to give you bonus? You should sit with your manager, look at the book, and then decide whether indeed there was enough money for a bonus to be declared. That is your job. It's a collective responsibility.
So they should not stay out and complain. They should be on board.
It's collective responsibility. Get together and think together and work things together.
Will this also go for the minority who believe that there is extreme hardship, this government is failing?
In fact, they are even worse, because they are politicians who had been there before, and that problems arose when they were there. Serious problems arose when they were there. Just yesterday, I was on an IEA platform, and I said, why doesn't NDC and MPP just sit down and think through issues and agree on some fundamentals? There is something I call national interest.
Okay, so now, I get you making the politician comment, but what would you then say to a vice president or the president who says that, well, we're better than the previous government, but I mean, the people that will complain, we are talking about you comparing yourself to one another. We're talking about improvement in our lives, which they say they're not seeing.
Well, I'm saying that I am not here to attack politicians.
Yes.
I'm not here to attack the president or the vice president.
Yeah.
That's not my role. That's not my business.
I get you.
You understand? I'm even in a unique position because I'm a member of Council of State. So I cannot even do that.
In fact, the question is that the Council of State is not been telling the president that there's hardship, so fix the problem.
The Council of State is the only person who can tell the president there is hardship.
But you are in a unique position.
No, this is what I'm saying, that we take politics in such a childish way. You understand? You are sitting there in Parliament. You have committees. Yeah. You have committees in Parliament composed of people from both sides. You are the one examining the budget when they bring it to you.
Yeah.
You are the one who has given the right to someone, almost anybody, to appear before you, to advise you, to counsel you, to suggestions to you. Are you doing that? And you are telling me that it is me who to do, and advising who or not advising? And the advice I give, do you know it?
So the Council of State does that?
What I'm asking is that which of them has come to us as a council and say, okay, council, this and this is going wrong. And then we say, okay, fine. If this is going wrong, what would you suggest that we do? Okay, let's get some experts and let's all sit together and we discuss it. How many times have they come to us in that regard? Or have they ever done that?
Have they?
No.
Never?
Never.
Not consultations?
Not so far as I know. I've never seen them. At least since I was there, I've never seen them.
Is this country ever going to head the right direction?
Oh, it can. It can. It can when all of us come to that realization. That's the reason why I'm using the word we.
Yeah.
When we come to that realization to say that all of us are players in the game. In fact, the Bible says that the hand cannot say that I am not involved, and the eye cannot say I am not involved, because what they all belong to the body, not so.
Yeah.
So in the same way as the church tells us that all of us part of the collectivity together in a nation, that is what we are. I think it was the poet John Donne who said that any man's death diminishes me because I am part of mankind.
I see.
I am part of. No man is after a style like this, no man is an island.
Okay, I get you. Now, there's a question that I've been asked to ask you. There's a new EC boss. Do you know her?
Who?
The new EC boss. She was former IEA boss.
Oh, yeah, I know her very well.
Do you think she can deliver?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. She's a very competent lady. Maybe I'm biased. I know her very well, so I'm biased.
Yes, the final question will be the creation of regions. OT region, the voter region, some of them are kicking against that. Do you think you're stepping in the right direction?
Well, that again, the council approved it, so you can't ask me that question.
But you oppose it?
No, the council, I said the council approved it.
Yes.
So you can't ask me the question you're asking me.
You were part of those who approved it?
I'm a member of the council.
Yes, but I can disagree.
Oh, no, that's not the way it works.
Oh, okay, you do consensus?
We do consensus, but even the mere excuse that a member disagree, he cannot go to public and start talking.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I guess
you destroy the essence of the institution.
Venerable Samuel Kudjeto, thank you so much for joining us here today. Well, folks, that's where we end today's edition of Upfront. Many thanks for being with us on today's edition. Join us tomorrow.